The great hall of the alien palace was silent. Thousands of tall, armored aliens stood around the arena, watching carefully. They were called the Valrathi, a proud and powerful species. In their world, strength meant size, and respect belonged. To the largest warriors at the center of the hall, on her high throne, sat Queen Velra. Her skin was silver blue, her eyes sharp like ice, and her body tall and strong like a mountain. Oh, she wore armor made of black metal, shining under the lights. Beside her sat her advisors, old warriors, each of them larger than any human. Before the throne stood a single human. His name was Aaron. Compared to the Valrathi, he looked small. His body was strong, but his size did not impress the aliens. He wore simple armor, scratched from battles, but his face showed no fear. His eyes, calm and steady, looked directly at the Queen. Queen Velra leaned forward. Her voice echoed in the hall. "You think you can challenge us?" she said, laughing softly. "Look at you, human. You are half the size of my weakest guard." The hall echoed with laughter. Ow. Even the youngest alien warriors joined. To them, Aaron was a joke, but Aaron did not react. He stood still, hands by his side, waiting patiently. He had heard this before. In every alien world, humans were judged by their size. He knew words would not change their minds. "Speak," Queen Velra said finally, growing serious. "Why do you stand before me? Why do you ask for the challenge of the arena?" Aaron's voice was quiet but steady. "Because I want to show you what humans can do." His words were simple, but they carried weight. The Queen's smile faded slightly. One of her advisors, an old warrior named Kor, stepped forward. "Let me fight him, my queen," Kor said. "It will be over in seconds." Velra considered, then nodded. "Very well. One match, then human. You will return to your ship and leave." Aaron said nothing. He stepped forward into the arena. The floor of the arena was dark stone. The walls were high. Above, thousands of Valrathi watched from platforms. Kor entered from the other side. He was twice Aaron's height, wearing heavy battle armor. He carried a large spear that crackled with energy. A loud horn sounded. Kor charged. The crowd cheered, expecting the human to be crushed. But Aaron moved. Fast, he dodged to the side just before the spear struck. Dust rose as the heavy weapon hit the ground. Kor growled and swung again, but Aaron was no longer there. He ducked under the swing, moved behind Kor, and struck at the alien's leg with the edge of his small blade. Kor stumbled. Surprised, the crowd fell silent. Aaron pressed forward. He didn't try to overpower Kor. Instead, he used speed. Aimed for weak points in the armor joints, the back of the knees, the side of the neck. Small cuts, but they slowed the large warrior. Kor roared, furious now, and spun around wildly. His spear slammed into the stone floor, missing the human. Again and again. Then, without warning, Aaron leaped onto Kor's back. His blade pressed against the back of Kor's neck. Silence filled the hall. Kor froze. "I win," Aaron said simply. Kor slowly dropped his spear. Queen Velra rose from her throne. Her sharp eyes locked onto Aaron, who now stood beside the defeated warrior. She had expected an easy victory, yet the small human had outsmarted her finest fighter. The queen walked down from her throne. The crowd parted. She stopped at the edge of the arena, studying Aaron closely. "You fight like no one I've seen," Velra said quietly. "You used no strength, only skill, speed." Aaron sheathed his blade. "Humans don't win by size." He answered, "We win by not giving up." For the first time, Queen Velra said nothing. She turned to her people. "Leave us." Her voice carried power. Slowly the warriors obeyed. The hall emptied until only the queen, her closest guards, and Aaron remained. Queen Velra looked at the human again. This time, there was no laughter in her eyes. "You have earned one night in the palace," she said. "Tomorrow, you will speak with me again." Aaron nodded. He did not smile. He had proven what he came to prove. But he knew this was only the beginning. As Velra watched the small human walk away, She felt something unfamiliar stir inside her, curiosity and respect. The next morning, the palace felt different. Queen Velra stood silently on her high balcony, looking down at the training grounds. Her people trained as they always did, lifting heavy weapons, sparring with each other, shouting battle cries. Yet her mind stayed on one thought: the human. She remembered the way Aaron had fought. Fast, calm, smart. He had not looked afraid. He had not tried to prove himself with strength. He fought like someone who understood what mattered. Her advisors soon stood behind her, waiting for orders. One of them, Kor, stood quietly, his pride wounded from yesterday's fight. He still felt the sting of defeat, not from pain, but from confusion. "My queen," said Kor, his voice heavy. "Let me fight him again. I will not fail." Velra did not answer. Her sharp eyes stayed fixed on the horizon. "He is different," she said softly. "I want to see more." Hours later, Aaron was brought again before the queen. His expression remained calm, but his body showed signs of rest. He had eaten. He had slept. His armor was repaired, but simple as before. Velra stood from her throne. "You showed me something yesterday," she said. "But that was one fight. I want to see more." "What do you want from me?" Aaron asked. Velra smiled slightly. "A true challenge." She pointed toward the large arena deeper inside the palace. This was no small battle ring. It was where champions fought, where legends were born. "You will face 3 of my warriors together, one after the other. Do this, and I will listen to your words." Aaron nodded once, no fear in his eyes. He knew there was no other choice. His mission was to open peace talks between humans and the Valrathi. They would never respect words without proof. Later that day, the grand arena was full. Thousands of Valrathi warriors watched from the high stone walls, curious now, not laughing. The small human had already defeated one of their strongest. They wanted to see if it had been luck or skill. Aaron stood in the center of the arena, alone. 3 heavy gates opened. From each gate, a warrior stepped forward. First carried twin axes. The second, a massive hammer. The third, long spears crackling with blue energy. All 3 were larger than Aaron, armored and ready. From her seat above, Velra watched carefully. A deep horn sounded. The battle began. The 3 warriors moved together, but not blindly. They circled Aaron, each watching for a mistake. Aaron knew he couldn't fight all 3 at once. He had to move. He had to control. The fight. The first warrior attacked with twin axes, fast for his size. Aaron dodged left, forcing the second warrior to block the path with his hammer. Then Aaron turned sharply, surprising them, and darted toward the third warrior. Spears stabbed toward him, fast and dangerous. But Aaron dropped low, rolling under the spears, and cut at the alien's legs with quick strikes. Sparks flew as his blade scraped armor. He didn't aim to kill, only to weaken. The third warrior stumbled, falling backward. Now 2 remained. The hammer swung down. Aaron jumped aside, barely missing the strike that cracked the stone ground. But dust filled the air. The twin axe fighter charged again. But Aaron used the dust to disappear into the side. He moved like a shadow, always forcing his enemies into each other's way. Above, Velra leaned forward on her throne. Her heart beat faster. She had never seen a fight like this. Humans fought differently, not like her people, not with raw power. With understanding, soon the hammer warrior stood alone, breathing heavily, confused. His 2 allies lay defeated on the ground. Unable to stand, Aaron faced the last opponent. The crowd watched in silence. The hammer was heavy, the last warrior strong. Aaron circled him slowly. He was tired now. His arms felt heavy, his breathing fast. But he stayed focused. When the warrior swung again, Aaron didn't dodge backward. He moved forward, inside. The hammer's arc. It was risky. The crowd gasped as the human slipped past the heavy weapon and struck at the warrior's side. Then his leg, then the side of the neckle, in seconds. The last warrior dropped to his knees. Aaron stood behind him, blade resting calmly against his back. The fight was over. Silence. Then the crowd roared, not with laughter, not with anger, with respect, Queen. Velra stood. She did not cheer. But her expression had changed. The small human had defeated 3 of her warriors using speed, mind, and heart. She could not deny it anymore. She gave a simple order: bring him to me. Moments later, Aaron stood before the Queen again. Dust and sweat covered him. But his gaze remained steady. Velra studied him. You win not because of your strength, she said softly, but because you refuse to lose. Aaron said nothing. For the first time, Queen Velra gave a small nod. Tomorrow. She said, we will speak. You have earned more than a warrior's respect. She turned away, but her voice carried across the hall. You have earned mine. And for Aaron, that was the real victory. But deep in his heart, he knew the real challenge was yet to come. The large stone halls of the alien palace were silent that night. Aaron sat alone in a guest chamber. The walls were made of dark stone, with strange carvings that told the stories of battles long ago. A small fire burned in the corner, giving the room a soft, warm light. His body felt heavy. His arms ached. Cuts and bruises covered him. But his mind stayed sharp. He knew why the Queen had allowed him to live. He had earned her respect, but respect among the Valrothi could be a dangerous thing. In their world, respect was given. 2 warriors, but it also meant people watched you closely. Friends and enemies both. There was a soft sound near the door. Aaron stood quickly, reaching for his blade. But it was not a guard. It was Queen Velra herself. She wore no armor now, only a long dark robe. Simple, but elegant. Her tall figure stood silently at the door. Her sharp eyes studied Aaron, just like on the first day, but something in her gaze had changed. Put down your weapon, she said softly. If I wanted you dead, I would not knock. Aaron hesitated, then lowered his blade. Why are you here? He asked. Velra stepped inside, the door closing behind her. I wanted to speak to you without my court listening. Aaron said nothing. He watched carefully. The Queen walked slowly around the room, looking at the carvings on the walls. Then she turned to face him again. You confuse me, human? Aaron stayed silent. You are not large, Velra continued, her voice thoughtful. You do not speak loudly. You do not try to show your strength with words. Ah, yes. In 2 days, you have defeated 4 of my warriors. You stood alone in front of thousands and did not run. Aaron finally spoke, because fear doesn't win wars. Velra tilted her head slightly. Is that what you think this is? A war, isn't it? Aaron asked calmly. Your people hate humans. You block our trade routes. You send warships near our colonies. Why? Because we're small? Because we're new to space? Velra's silver blue eyes narrowed. We respect strength. Your people hide behind machines. Ships. Drones. You let machines fight your battles? Isn't that smart? Aaron replied. There was silence. Then, to his surprise, Velra smiled slightly. Perhaps she stepped closer now. Not as a queen, but as a leader, trying to understand something unknown. Why are you really here, Aaron? She asked softly. To make peace? He said without hesitation. Our leader sent me to prove that humans are not weak. We don't want war with the Valrothi, but we won't be slaves either. The Queen's smile faded. You speak boldly. I speak the truth. Velra studied him for a long moment. I've ruled for many years, she said. I have fought in battles across many worlds. I believed I understood strength. And now? Aaron asked. Now? I wonder. For the first time since they met? Silence felt comfortable between them. Velra looked at the fire for a moment, then spoke again. My people will not accept peace easily. They see you as prey. Let me prove otherwise, Aaron said simply. Velra met his gaze. You already have. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. Tomorrow, we will begin the talks. You will sit beside me in the war chamber. My generals will not like it. Aaron's voice was calm. I'm used to people not liking me. Velra gave a quiet laugh. It was soft, almost human. She left without another word. Aaron stood alone again. But something had changed. That night, Queen Velra sat alone in her private chamber thinking about the small human who had risked his life to teach her people a lesson they refused to learn. He had not tried to conquer her. He had not begged. He had fought not for pride, but for understanding. She had laughed at him once. She did not laugh now in her heart. For the first time, the mighty queen felt something unexpected. Respect and curiosity. She wondered what tomorrow would bring. At the same time, Baron sat near the fire, sharpening his blade out of habit. He thought about Earth, about his people. He had come alone to this distant world, knowing it could mean death. Yet, somehow, the strongest leader of the Valreth now spoke to him not as an enemy, but as something else, not a friend. Not yet, but something was changing. He could feel it, and somewhere deep in his thoughts, wondered why the queen herself had come to see him alone. He slept lightly that night, ready for whatever the next day might bring. Because Aaron knew one simple truth. The real battle had just begun. The next morning came quickly. In the war chamber, the mood was tense. Tall stone pillars circled the room. Round a long black table sat the most powerful leaders of the Valrothi empires, generals and old warriors. Their eyes burned with anger and pride. At the head of the table sat Queen Velra, silent and watching. Beside her, for the first time in the history of her people, sat a human. Aaron, his armor was clean now, but scars showed on his face and hands. His expression was calm. He knew many of the aliens here wanted him dead, but fear would gain him nothing. A general, large and armored, slammed his fist on the table. "This is an insult," he roared.
Aye.
"Why does a human sit beside our queen? He should kneel, not sit."
Aye.
Another warrior stood. "We are warriors. We do not treat prey as equals." Velra raised her hand. Silence fell quickly. Her voice was cold but controlled. "He is not prey." The room went silent. "He defeated our champions. He stood alone, yet did not fall. He carries no heavy weapon. He uses no machine to protect him. Still none of you could stop him." Her words hung in the air like a blade. Aaron said nothing. He let the queen's words speak for him. Finally, Velra turned to him. "Speak." Aaron stood slowly. His voice was quiet, but every alien in the room listened. "I came here for peace," he said simply. "Not as a servant, not as prey, not as a conqueror. My people do not want to rule you. But we will not bow." One of the generals growled. "Why should we believe your words, human?" Aaron's reply was simple. "Because I already proved them with actions." The queen watched carefully. Around the table, whispers began, confusion mixed with curiosity. For the first time, the strongest warriors of the Valrathi began to listen. Later that day, Aaron stood on the palace balcony. Below him, warriors trained as they always did, swinging weapons, preparing for battles. His body still hurt from the arena fights, but his mind stayed sharp. He heard the footsteps behind him. It was Queen Velra. She stood beside him, quiet for a long time. "My people do not understand you," she said softly. Aaron kept his eyes forward. "I'm not sure I understand them either." Velra gave a small laugh, short and cold. "You confuse me, human?" Aaron finally looked at her. "Why?" "In my world, leaders show strength with force. You show strength by standing silent. We fight until we win. You avoid the fight when you can." Aaron's voice was calm. "Fighting every battle doesn't make you strong." Velra looked at him for a long moment. "Then what does?" "Knowing which battles are worth it." Silence. For the first time, Queen Velra found herself thinking about more than war. She felt something strange when standing beside him. It's not weakness, not fear, a connection. She shook her head slightly, pushing the thought away. "I have watched many warriors," she said. "But you are different." Aaron didn't answer. Velra continued. "You are small, yet not weak. was quiet, yet not afraid. "Why do you fight so hard for peace?" Erin's answer was simple, "Because I don't want children growing up in war." Her sharp eyes studied him carefully. She expected a warrior's answer. She did not expect this. At that moment, something shifted between them. Not as queen and warrior, not as human and alien, but as leaders who understood loss and hope. That night, whispers spread through the palace. The queen spent too much time near. The human, her advisors, watched carefully. They knew respect could turn dangerous, and not all were pleased. In a dark corner of the palace, a group of warriors spoke in secret. Angry, afraid. "If the queen keeps him near, she weakens us. He is changing her. We should act." Plans began. In her private chamber, Velra sat alone. She thought about Erin's words, about his eyes, about the strange calm he carried. She knew her people would not accept peace easily, but part of her wanted to listen. Suddenly, a guard entered. "My queen, there is news." Velra stood. "What is it? An attack?" "Someone tried to kill the human." Her heart stopped for a moment. "Where is he?" she demanded. "He survived." "Is hurt." Without a word, Queen Velra left her chamber. Erin sat on a stone bench near the healing hall. His shoulder bled from a cut, but he held the wound tightly. 2 dead guards lay nearby. He had fought hard to stay alive. When he looked up, he saw her Vatel. Raw eyes, usually cold, now burned with something else, not anger. Fear. She rushed to him, ignoring the shocked looks of her guards. "You're alive?" she said quietly. "Barely." Her eyes stayed on the wound, but her voice was low. "I gave the order that no one touches you. Not everyone listens." She looked into his eyes then, without thinking, without planning. She said words that surprised even herself. "We'll protect you." Erin's voice was tired. "Why?" She didn't answer. She didn't know. All she knew was that she had chosen him. That night, the palace changed. The queen herself had stood for her people and chosen to protect a human. An unspoken bond had formed. And now, 2 empires watched closely, because whatever happened next would shape the future of both worlds. The morning after the attack, the palace was not the same. Guards stood at every gate. Warriors whispered in the dark halls. Some said the queen was losing her mind. Others said she was seeing something they could not. In the center of it all, Queen Velra stood silent in her war chamber, staring at the large stone walls. Her mind was troubled. She was a queen, trained to lead her people with strength. But now her thoughts were not clear. She thought of the human. She thought of Aaron, his wound was healing, but she knew he could have died that night. Someone had broken her command. Someone had tried to kill him inside her own palace. That was not just an attack on Aaron. It was an attack on her rule. Her sharp eyes narrowed. She would not allow it. In the healer's hall, Aaron sat quietly.
His
shoulder hurt, but the cut was not deep. But his mind was focused. He knew what was happening. He had seen the way the guards looked at him. He had heard the angry whispers. Some of the Valrothi wanted him dead. But he wasn't surprised. Fear creates enemies faster than war. Soon, footsteps echoed. Aaron looked up. It was Queen Velra. She came alone, no guards. She looked at him carefully, her voice quiet. "Do you know why they attacked you?" "I'm human," Aaron answered simply. Velra shook her head. "It's more than that." Aaron waited. Velra stepped closer, her expression serious. "They believe you are changing me. Are they wrong?" Aaron asked calmly. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, softly, she answered, "No." She sat beside him, silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke again. "I was trained to lead through strength, to trust no outsider. When I look at you, I see something different." Aaron watched her. "I see someone who fights without hatred," Velra continued. "Someone who stands without pride. I respect that. My people don't understand it. And now they fear it." Aaron's voice was steady. What do you fear? Velra met his gaze. Myself. The silence between them said more than any words. She stood. I made a decision, Velra said quietly. One that will make many hate me. What decision? Will protect you, not as a guest, not as a warrior. Then how? Aaron asked. Velra's voice was low but strong. As my equal, Aaron said nothing. It was a choice forbidden by her people. Valrathi did not see outsiders as equals. Not in war. Not in anything. But Velra had made her choice. And once a queen chose, there was no going back. That night, in the grand hall, the queen called her court to stand before her. Thousands filled the room, warriors, leaders, generals. Velra stood. High above them on the throne steps. I have ruled you for many years, she said. I have led in battle. I have kept our empire strong. But today, I make a choice that some will not understand. Her voice echoed across the stone walls. The human will not leave. He will not be harmed. From this day forward, he is under my protection. Whispers turned to shouts. Angry voices. Why? Someone cried. He is nothing. He is not one of us. Velra's sharp eyes burned. He is stronger than you, she said coldly. Because strength is not size, not muscle. Strength is standing when others kneel. Strength is holding peace when war is easier. Words were like fire. He stood alone in our arena. He faced death without fear. He spoke truth when silence would have saved him. I choose him. Silence fell like a heavy stone. I choose him as my ally. Her voice grew colder. Anyone who moves against him, moves against me. None dared speak, not even her generals. The queen had spoken, and no one could break a queen's word. In the quiet halls later, Aaron walked beside Velra. Why did you do that? He asked. Velra looked straight ahead. Because they respect fear. I respect courage. Aaron understood. The two walked without speaking, without knowing when it happened. Aaron realized something strange. He trusted her, and in her silence, Velra realized something even stranger. She trusted him too. But in the shadows of the palace, not all were silent. Far from the queen's chamber, in a hidden room, warriors gathered in secret. Old warriors, angry leaders, proud generals. She has chosen a human. She has betrayed us. We must stop her. Their leader, a scarred warrior named Vor, stood at the front. Then we end the human. And if the queen protects him, her voice was cold. Then we end her too. The game had changed. Velra had chosen a path forbidden to her people. Aaron had accepted a protection that placed him in more danger. Their bond, silent and unspoken, was now a spark in the darkness. And soon both human and queen would learn some wars are not fought with swords, but with trust. Many weeks passed. The story of the human warrior spread across the stars. On distant worlds, both humans and Valrathi whispered about the queen who had chosen to protect a small human. Some believed it was a lie. Others believed it was weakness. But inside the stone walls of the palace, a new truth was growing. A truth Queen Velra could no longer hide. One quiet morning, she stood in her private chamber, looking at herself in the mirror. Her sharp eyes, her tall and powerful body, her silver-blue skin, all signs of her strength remained. But now, she carried something else inside her life. She touched her stomach gently. A child. Not just any child. A child that should not exist. Her child and Aaron's. The queen called her most trusted healer. You must not speak of this, Velra said, her voice cold. The healer, shocked and afraid, nodded without question. Then Velra stood alone in her chamber. Thinking of Aaron, her people would never accept this. A child of two worlds. A child of two enemies. She should have felt shame. But instead she felt proud and afraid. Later that day, she found Aaron standing near the palace walls, watching the sun. He turned when he heard her steps. You look troubled, Aaron said softly. Velra's voice was low. I need to speak with you. About what? For a moment, she said nothing. Then, without emotion, she told him the truth. Aaron stood silently as her words hit him like a storm. He was not angry, not confused, just quiet. You carry my child? He asked softly. Velra nodded once. Yes. Aaron said nothing. He looked at her carefully. He saw no trick, no game, only truth. A truth bigger than both of them. Finally, his voice returned. What does this mean? Velra's voice was steady. It means everything will change. That night, the Council of Generals demanded answers. Rumors spread like fire. The Queen had chosen the human now. Human would give her an heir. It was something no one had ever imagined. In the great hall, the warriors shouted in anger, spoke of betrayal. Others spoke of war. Velra stood before them all. I carry the future, she said simply. It is no weakness. One general stepped forward. Your child is a mistake. Velra's eyes burned cold. Say that again? The warrior hesitated, but his pride forced him to speak. That child is not Velrathi. Silence fell. Velra stepped down from her throne. Her voice was soft, but dangerous. My child is stronger than you. The warrior tried to speak, but her hand moved like lightning. She struck him down with one blow. He lay silent. She looked at the others. Any who question me will join him. None moved. None spoke. The Queen had made her choice, and she would protect it in the shadows. The traitor Vor watched carefully. His plans were now clear. He could not kill the human. Alone, he had to kill them both. In her private chamber, Velra sat beside Aaron. She did not wear her armor. She did not speak like a queen. She simply rested. I will protect this child, she said softly. Aaron nodded. So will I. She looked at him. You are not afraid? I am. Velra's voice was low. Of me? No, Aaron answered. Of what happens next? She gave a small, tired smile. For the first time, I understand. Their hands rested near each other, not touching, but close, far away on Earth. Humans received the message. A child. A hybrid, some leaders argued. It was a mistake. Others saw it as hope, but none could ignore it. The age of war was ending, or changing, and at the center of it, two lives stood together. One human, one queen, and the child no one expected. As the days passed, Aaron trained quietly in the palace, knowing enemies watched from the shadows. He knew the child Velra carried was not just life. It was a message, a bridge, a future. But he also knew that future was now a target. One night, as the moons shone bright over the palace, Aaron stood guard outside Velra's chamber himself. He would not sleep. He would not fail. Inside the chamber, the queen rested, her hand over her stomach. For the first time in her life, the strongest warrior of her people felt fear. Not for herself, but for her child, and for the human who refused to leave her side in silence. Two leaders understood one thing: they were no longer fighting for their people. They were fighting for each other, and for the future that would change two worlds forever. The palace was quiet under the twin moons. Queen Velra sat beside Aaron in the private chamber. The soft light of the moons shone through the tall windows, casting gentle shadows on the stone walls. Velra's hand rested protectively on her stomach. The child inside her moved slowly, a gentle reminder of the future growing within. Aaron looked at her with quiet strength. The time is coming, he said softly. We can feel it. Velra nodded. Yes, the warriors are restless. The ones who oppose us grow stronger every day. But so do those who believe in peace. Outside, the palace buzzed with life. Rumors had spread beyond their walls. The story of the queen carrying a human's child was no longer a secret. Across the empire, some welcomed it as a new beginning. Others saw it as a threat to everything they knew. The child's birth would mark a turning point. Velra and Aaron had no doubt about that. Together. It already changed history, breaking old rules, crossing lines no one dared to cross. But now, their unity had a new purpose. Velra stood and walked to the balcony. Below, the city stretched. Wide towers of stone, rivers of light, and thousands of faces watching the stars. Aaron joined her. "What do you see?" he asked. "A future," she replied. "A future where strength is not measured by size, but by courage, by heart." Aaron smiled. "That's what I have always believed." The Council of Elders had agreed to meet again. The decision was made to bring peace talks to the Great Hall this time with the child as a symbol of hope. VHL Ra and Aaron prepared for the gathering. Aaron's armor was polished and light. Velra wore her queen's cloak, but her eyes held a softer strength. When the leaders gathered, the room was tense. Some faces were filled with doubt, others with hope. Velra spoke first. "We stand on the edge of a new age." She lifted her hand toward Aaron, not as enemies, but as allies. Aaron stepped forward. "This child represents more than blood. It represents unity." A murmur spread through the crowd. VEHL Ra continued. "Together we can build peace. Together we can rise beyond war." The child was born under a sky filled with stars. Velra named him Sarin. He was small but strong, bright eyes that held both human warmth and Valrathi fire. The palace welcomed Sarin with hope and fear. He was the first of his kind. The future, years passed, and Sarin grew, learned the ways of both worlds, the strength of his mother's people, and the courage of his father's. Sarin was not like others. He was a bridge, a living promise that two different worlds could become one. When he spoke to the elders, they listened. When he trained with the warriors, they respected him. Slowly, the empire began to change. One day, as Sarin stood on the training field, Aaron and Velra watched from the sidelines. "Look at him," Aaron said softly. "He carries both our hopes." Smiled. "He is more than that. He carries the future of two worlds." Aaron nodded. "And one day he will lead us beyond the stars." Peace did not come easily. There were battles, challenges, and sacrifices. But the story of the small human and the mighty queen had inspired many. They had shown that true strength is not in size or weapons. It is in the will to protect, to unite, and to believe. As the moons rose again over the palace, Velra and Aaron stood together. Watching the stars, "We changed everything," Velra said quietly. "We did," Aaron agreed, "and the best is yet to come." The Empire's future was no longer written in the stars by war. It was written by courage, hope, and the love between a small human and a great queen. And in that story, humanity rose stronger than ever before.